Welcome to Gapology Radio with your hosts Mark Tinas and Brian Brockhoff. This is your leadership development podcast where they share unique insights with the purpose of helping leaders achieve their greatest potential. You can learn more by reading their books Gapology, IMBAR, and Speed of Purpose, or by participating in one of their workshops. All of this and more can be found on their website, gapology.org.
Hey everybody, welcome to Gapology Radio. First off, I'd like to give a big shout out to Judy and Sarah Shulak for doing a terrific job with the Gapology Radio Takeover episode last week. I'm sure it was a refreshing change for all of you, and I learned a lot myself and really enjoyed their tips on conflict resolution using Gapology, as well as their own Tuck It method from their work with Relatively Speaking. Very nice job to them, and I'll look forward to speaking with them on the show very soon. Make sure to also check out our blog series where I summarize the tips that we share on this podcast, including my thoughts on conflict mediation after listening to Judy and Sarah's episode last week. You can find my blogs on our website, gapology.org. Well, I guess now that Mark and I are back from our short vacation, it's time for us to get back to work. So let's go ahead and start the show. Hey Mark, how's it going?
Hey, Brian. How are you?
I'm good. I'm feeling refreshed, fresh back from vacation. I feel good. How about you? How was your time off?
No, I don't think I had time off like you did. So
you weren't in Mexico, and
I was not in Mexico on the beach. No.
Yeah. Well, that's too bad. Actually, it would have been great to have you there. My son had his wedding there, and
congratulations.
Yep. Thanks.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. It was awesome.
That is awesome.
Really cool wedding. We had a great time.
That's great. Congratulations. Please extend my congratulations to the couple as well.
Will do. Yeah, but I'm ready to jump back into this. I think we have a cool topic tonight, something we really haven't discussed. This kind of came up, I was thinking really about trust. And I think a lot of times in businesses, trust is such a huge topic, and it's a huge thing that can really impact a team. And, especially in today's world, with the Zoom world and, people working remotely and all this virtual stuff going on, I think trust is incredibly important. And we haven't really dug into that with Gapology, but just want to kind of get your thoughts on, how do you build trust, within a team and that kind of thing?
Well, so trust is a big deal today. Most organizations experience significant gaps in trust. And the gap is often between the leaders and the team.
Yeah.
And the true solution is that the closing of the trust gap is all about the leader. The leader owns that, and they have to model and they have to exhibit the behaviors of trust to move the team forward. And it's a pretty high bar for leaders. So I think we've got some tactics that if leaders want to take notes on this, that could be significant to them. But that's the key to closing the trust gap. It's all about the leader and how they behave and how they model and how they exhibit behaviors of trust. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's like a lot of the things that we talk about in Gapology, it always comes back to the leader. If you're not setting expectations and creating priorities and doing all those things as a leader, you're going to have performance gaps. And I think a trust gap is created the same way. If you're not exhibiting trust and modeling trust and those kinds of things, I think you're going to have a trust gap.
Well, you bring up a significant point, though, as well, that we should touch on. So if you have a trust gap, you have a performance gap.
Yeah.
Your performance is not achieving its potential. Mm-hmm. So you cannot have a trust gap. If you want to maximize performance, you've got to overcome the trust gap. And as a leader, it's up to you.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
So let me talk about these tactics. So there's really two key tactics that the leader must exhibit, and they are to extend trust and to model trust. So extending trust is granting trust to others. That's a big deal. The team sees that. It's viewed as gracious. It's fairly easy to do. And when you have an environment that is built around a purpose and values, which is key, and expectations that are clear, extending trust is important. It builds trust within the team, and it's viewed very positively by the team. They look at the leader as someone that they feel good about. The challenge comes when there's violations of that trust. There's violations of the purpose or the values or the expectations and how they deal with those. But extending it is important. Think about it as a leader. Once the purpose is clear, once the values are clear, once the expectations are clear, extending trust to the team to deliver those, to behave in such a way that aligns with those is key. And we need to extend that trust. We can't have a team of people that don't align. So we must extend it to understand where we're at.
Yeah, I think laying the foundation really of Gapology is where you start building. I think a lot of times we talk about building trust. You have to have that foundation that we talk about in Gapology by training and teaching your team and creating good communication and having expectations and priorities and all those things. That kind of is that foundational element that has to happen in order for trust to really get built, on top of that, and extending that, being that the person who proactively goes after that, because a lot of times leaders don't think about this stuff, right? So if they proactively take a step back and analyze how they're extending trust or at what level, that's where they're going to be able to affect their own behaviors.
I think most leaders take this for granted.
Yeah.
And the Zoom world complicates it dramatically.
Right.
It's tough to trust somebody who you haven't met. It's tough to trust somebody who you see on a Zoom screen on a weekly basis. So it's sort of a hidden performance issue that needs to be overcome.
Mm-hmm.
So extending trust, trusting people, showing that you trust your team, that's easy compared to modeling trust as a leader. Modeling trust, well, this is where the breakdowns in trust really can come. And it's where Gapology comes in, though. It's pretty significant. If any of you can take notes on this, you should. This is significant. So as a leader, picture this. What we value and what we say are words. And what we assume to know, those have to align with how we behave, the actions we take, and the actual results and outcomes of the organization. When those come together, the trust gap is closed. Where those are apart, the trust gap exists. And if you can identify the gap between those, you've got it. So as leaders, we are always on the stage. So you might as well view yourself as standing on a stage with a guitar in hand and playing music with video cameras seeing your performance. That's how clear your leadership is to others. Mm-hmm. Don't you think?
Yeah, that's a scary image in my mind because I'm a terrible musician. And
well, you play the ukulele. No, you play the ukulele. So.
Yeah.
But seriously, mm-hmm. We're always on display. Our words matter. Our actions matter even more. The outcomes of the organization must align. And when they don't, we're not trusted as leaders. Mm-hmm. So again, let me tell you this again. What we value and what we say, what we assume and what we know, maybe we share that with others, has got to align with how we behave. If we say the customer matters most, the customer is all that matters, and then we ignore the customer, we've lost trust.
Yeah.
Our actions are on display. Our actions must exemplify what we believe in. And what happens when members of our team violate those? We've got to deal with those appropriately. We have to take the necessary action. We have to discipline and course correct and apologize, whatever is needed to close that gap. So this trust gap is very real. It varies by organization in terms of what it is, because of the products we sell, the services we offer, et cetera. But it's real. We have to identify it, deal with it, and then determine what those pieces are for, our organization.
The thing you said there about the customer, if we say we value the customer, but then we ignore them, that breaks that trust. But I think, I think it breaks that trust in the eyes of the customer too. So if we're advertising that, our customer is the most important thing, but then when they come into our location, we don't treat them that way, we can instantly lose their trust. And then on the flip side, the same thing absolutely goes with our employees. So if we say that we value our employees and we say we want to listen to them, and we create, town hall meetings or roundtable discussions or whatever, and we, have all those, but then we don't react from that. We don't take action based on that. So that's the thing that you're talking about with how we behave and what action we take. That absolutely would destroy the trust. And I think trust, once you lose it, it's very, very hard to get back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Once it's gone, it's tough. It is tough.
Yeah.
Speed of purpose is very real. Organizations that have trust, organizations that have clear purpose, move faster. Gapology, works in all of that. So as leaders, again, we have to deal with underperformers effectively because the team notices. Mm-hmm. We have to deal with violations of trust effectively because the team notices. Once that all comes together, you close the gap, that we're calling the trust gap. And it's big.
Yeah.
It is big. Consistency, alignment, and again, a clear sense of purpose and values really help.
Yeah. Yeah. Although we didn't really write about trust specifically in Gapology, it really touches all three of these gaps.
If you have a knowledge gap, it creates a trust gap. If you have an importance gap, it creates a trust gap. And if you have an action gap, it creates a big trust gap. Mm-hmm. And that's the leader's role. Got to close those gaps. Gapology touches on all of these. Trust gaps are probably the hardest to close in many ways. Because again, once violated, how do you come back? So you have to be very careful here. It's real. And in today's environment where people can work wherever, they don't need to work for you. They can go work for the competitor. As leaders, we have to be great. Mm-hmm. We have to be great at exhibiting trust and modeling trust.
Yeah, awesome. I think it absolutely takes a lot of hard work and dedicated focus to build. It really requires strategic thinking, planning. Really, every interaction that you have with your team, meetings or projects, whatever, you really need to look at it through that lens of, how do we extend trust? How do we model trust?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Hey, can I tell you about a call I got today?
Sure.
So I got a call from somebody you and I worked with for many years.
Okay.
And I have not talked to this individual for somewhere between 5 and 7 years. We couldn't figure out the time frame.
Oh, wow.
We hadn't talked directly. We'd exchanged messages. And the call was simply, to tell me and to share with you that Gapology had changed their life, had propelled their career, that they were the number one performer in a massive organization, and that without Gapology, they wouldn't be there.
Wow.
And that they had benefited from our time together. So I thought you'd appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love those kind of phone calls.
Made me feel good, obviously, but made me proud of their performance and how well they've done. And I started looking back at some of the people you and I have shared, these things with. And it's like, wow, they're doing well. Some of them who have simply learned the things we've shared in these podcasts are now presidents of organizations, large organizations, right, and are doing well. Gapology works, and it works to close the trust gap and many other gaps. The performance gap is the one we're always working on, but the performance gap is, broadened immensely by a trust gap. So,
yeah, absolutely connected. Yeah. And it's actually, that really is something to be proud of. So, we've been working hard on this for a long time, and, our goal, of helping leaders achieve their greatest potential, that's really what our purpose is. And in many ways we do that. And sometimes, taking a step back and being proud of that, I think is a good thing. So it helps us stay motivated as well.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for all your work. I think you've impacted a lot of lives, Brian.
Yep.
So well done.
You too. Absolutely. All right. Well, this is a good podcast. I think everyone's going to like this one a lot. So
it's very meaningful. So thanks, Brian.
Definitely. Yep. All right. Have a good one. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Bye. All right. As a reminder, check out my full blog with the tips we shared on today's show. You can find them at gapology.org, along with information on our books, our workshops, and our leadership coaching. Everyone have a fantastic week. We'll talk to you soon.
This has been a Gapology production. Visit us at gapology.org.